Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle and I am the creator behind Lily Rose Craft Room. And from last video, you guys requested that I show you guys how to make these beautiful glittered resin and rhinestone lids. So here we are. These lids look so beautiful and they give your cup that extra pop. So before we get started, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so you guys don't miss it on any new videos. All right, let's get started. Let's start off by showing you guys what the materials are. So for this video, obviously we're gonna be using a bamboo lid, and this lid came with the Craft Express glass cans. So if you order from Craft Express, they come with the cup, the lid, and the straws. The way I'm gonna show you guys on this bamboo lid, I also do the same way with my acrylic lid, so it works for either way. So we're going to be needing a sandpaper so we could sand the lid, and this is to take off like that little glossy layer on top. And the sandpaper is a fine grit, so a 220 would be perfect. And then we're going to be needing a paint base. So usually I pick the color that's close to the glitter or the rhinestones that I'm using. So just so it can be a base, like don't use a blue paint if you're gonna use a red glitter, you know, that way it can blend any gaps. We also need some UV resin and a UV light so it can cure the UV resin. I got this one from Amazon. It came in a pack, so I got the resin and the light together. Next, for the rhinestones, I'm going to be using, they're called crystal rhinestones, so the crystal is like the clear color, and they're going to be glass, so it's going to be a SS20. We'll talk more about the rhinestones in a little bit. Next, the glues that we're going to be using, I transferred them to a precision tip bottle just for easier application. The clear one is called Eileen's Liquid Fusion, and the white one is called Gem-Tac by Beacons, and these two work amazing. I'm gonna explain a little bit more of it once we start rhinestoning. Next, I want to show you my glue holder. I love this thing, it comes in handy, and this is actually the center of the label roll. So if you're a small business and you print labels, don't throw that roll in the middle away. I have a couple of them. I painted them different colors and they come in handy. They're really sturdy and they're perfect for holding your glue upside down. We're gonna start prepping our lid. So to start prepping it, first we're gonna take off that silicone band in the middle so we don't get any paint on it or any dust doesn't get trapped in there. So if you can see, it's kind of hard to see on camera, but it does have kind of like a glossy layer on top. So it's kind of like a wax coating. So we're gonna use our sandpaper and we're going to sand it off. And by sanding off that waxy layer, it gives the paint and the resin a better grip onto the lid. That way eventually like it doesn't come off just because it has that wax coating. And you wanna make sure you get the sides of the cup because that's where we're gonna be attaching our rhinestones. And if you skip this step, you might lose a rhinestone or the resin might pop off eventually, but if you prep it, you'll be good. Next, after you're done sanding your lid, you're gonna have some dust all over your lid and your hands. So just take a dry paintbrush and just dust it and brush it off. Next, we're gonna be using acrylic paint to paint the base of the lid. And I usually pick a color that's similar to the glitter. And the reason for this is because if you just put the resin and the glitter like on the bamboo lid just like that, you might be able to see the lid underneath. So that is the reason why. So to paint the lid, I just grab a small flat brush and I don't tape anything because I trust myself. But if you don't trust yourself, then you do want to tape up the edges and maybe put something in the middle so you don't paint inside of that hole. But if you take your time, I'm sure you'll be fine. I usually put 2 layers of the paint and I make sure they're thin, that way they can dry fast. So 2 thin layers would be good. And then after I'm done painting the top, I am going to paint the edge of the lid. So I just hold the lid by the bottom of that bottom piece right there and then just paint over it. And with this flat brush, it definitely makes things easier. I've tried using a long skinny brush and it just made things harder because I don't know, that flat brush is magic. So if you haven't tried it with a flat brush, try it out and let me know if you notice a difference. Okay, so I have done one layer and now I'm gonna go over with the second layer. So since I'm doing thin layers, they dry pretty fast, and either way, acrylic paint dries really fast. So I'm just gonna speed up this process just for a little bit. I'm just doing the second layer and then I'm gonna let that dry, and then we're gonna be moving on to the next step. Next, we're gonna be using UV resin. So with UV resin, you need either a UV light so it can cure, or you can put it out in the sun. If it's sunny, it'll cure in a couple minutes. I use a medicine cup to measure my UV resin. So for one lid, I usually use around 5 milliliters, sometimes a little tiny bit less. So that's just typically the amount for one lid. Next, we're gonna be using glitter. I do put a good amount of glitter in there because when we mix it, we want it covered with glitter. We don't wanna see any of like the resin inside. So I am using a fine glitter. You can also use chunky glitter. So when we mix it, this is the consistency you want. You want it to be kind of thick, like a honey texture, or a honey, honey consistency. And this glitter that I'm using, it was from my glitter collection, but I don't sell glitter anymore. But it's called Silver Holographic, and it's a fine cut. So I'm sure you could find this with other glitter sellers. You want to make sure that you have mixed in the glitter like really well. You want every inch of that glitter to be coated with the resin. Next, we want to pour the resin on the lid like in a circle motion. That way there's an even amount on all sides of the lid. And also, since the resin is thick, it doesn't run over the edges easily. There's a word for it. Someone just told me what it was, but I totally forgot what it was. If you know that word for it, leave it down in the comments below why the resin doesn't run. But I use a popsicle stick and I kind of just like brush it over like really close to the edge. But don't push like too much over because then it will drip. But this is how I do it. I just carefully smooth it around, and yeah, just exactly how I'm doing it. And if you do have some that goes over the edge, it's not a big deal. Just wipe it off and you'll be good. So I just, smooth everything out, and then I let it just sit there for a couple seconds so it can all level out. Next, before we put it under the light so it can cure, I use a torch or a lighter to pop the bubbles on the top. So the torch is easier, that way you don't burn yourself, but if you do use a lighter, just be careful because you might burn yourself. Or you can even use like one of those barbecue lighters that has a long stick. That way you don't burn yourself. And you just want to give it like a couple quick passes and it will pop the air bubbles that floated to the top. But make sure not to leave the heat there like too long, because then it's gonna melt your resin and then it will start dripping. Now that we popped the bubbles, I put the UV lamp over the lid. So this lamp came with the UV resin that I got. It came like in a little kit off Amazon. I'm gonna link it down in the description below if you guys don't have one. It really comes in handy. So I leave it curing for about 3 minutes. So if the light turns off, just click the button again and it will turn back on. So just do like a total of 3 minutes. That way it cures hard. And if you still feel it kind of like a little sticky, give it some more time. Or if you have, or if you live like in a sunny area where it's sunny, go ahead and put it out in the sun. Those UV rays are probably stronger and it will cure it just like that. And I also stick my popsicle stick under the light along with the medicine cups. That way that resin residue will get cured. That way when I throw in the trash, it's not a sticky mess. So I cure the resin before I throw in the trash. Now that 3 minutes have passed, my lid is cured and it's hard to the touch. It's not sticky. So now we're ready to put on the rhinestones. And this glitter is super pretty. Like I said, I don't sell glitter anymore. This one was from my collection, but ask your favorite glitter seller if they have a silver holographic, because it's probably the same color. Next, let's talk about glue. My favorite glues that I like to use for rhinestoning is the clear one is called Eileen's Liquid Fusion, and the white one is called Beacon Gem-Tac, and they both work amazing. Sometimes the Eileen's Liquid Fusion is sold out at Michael's, and then I'll just get the Gem-Tac, but I've tried both and they work really good. The only thing with the white one is that it's white when it goes on, but then it turns clear after. So if you're trying to do like a precise, like fine line, it gets kind of like a little tricky because the white color will get in the way. But like I said, it dries clear after, and they both work really, really good. I'm gonna be using the Liquid Fusion, the clear one first, and then I'm gonna show you how the white one looks after, how it kind of gets a little bit messy. So I'll show you both. And the rhinestones that I'm gonna be using are a size SS20. So if you're new to rhinestones, you might see like the size SS20 or 5mm. So usually the SS is when the stone is glass. So MM is usually used when the stone is resin. And the 5mm is almost equivalent to a size of the SS20. I had a really hard time understanding like the rhinestone language between the different numbers, but if you do a little research, look up like the stone size chart, and it will show you like the equivalent sizes to like the resin ones and the glass ones, and that'll help a lot. So I personally like to use the glass ones only because it gives you like a better shine and it's like a better quality than the resin. But the glass ones are a little bit more expensive, so whichever one you choose, it's fine. You know, the resin ones are still very, very sparkly. The tools that I use to pick up the rhinestones is called a wax picker. So this one right here has interchangeable tips. So if it gets dull, you just switch it out. And there's also this one, it's also a wax picker, but it's kind of like a pencil, and you're able to sharpen the tip of it just with a regular sharpener. And the difference between this one and the other one is that this one is just wax, like a wax stick that you're able to sharpen. And the other one has a metal tip, that way you're able to like push on the rhinestones and move them. And this one right here, like I said, you can also unscrew it and change the tip of it. And the way you pick up the rhinestone is you just use the tip of the wax and give it a little push, and it gets stuck on it, and then you just transfer it to the surface of whatever you're rhinestoning. So you just pick it up just like that. And that little heart tray is called a rhinestone sorter. So it has those little lines, that way once you use up all the rhinestones, you give it a little shake and it just flips over the rhinestones, and it makes it easier to apply rhinestones. And they also come in different shapes and different sizes. I got this heart, it's a 3-pack, and it's really cute. I got them from Amazon. I'll put them down in the description below. And after a while, like after you've been rhinestoning, and if your wax picker is not picking up the rhinestones anymore, that means that there is glue stuck on the wax. So you just want to clean up the tip, like take your little fingernail and just kind of like scratch the tip of it and get off the glue, because if the glue is on the wax, it's not going to pick up the rhinestones. I also transfer my glue into these precision tip bottles just because it makes the glue application a lot smoother, because if you put it straight from like the bottle, you're gonna get way too much glue. So I got these from Amazon and they work really, really good. So I work in sections. I just put a small strip because also the glue dries very fast, so you have to work quick when you're rhinestoning. So I just do a small strip like that, and then I use my wax picker, and then I apply the rhinestones onto the lid. So this is the clear glue that I'm using. This is the Eileen's Liquid Fusion. And like I said, I love both. The clear one is kind of just a little bit easier to use, only because once you use the white one, it gets a little messy, even though it dries clear. I'm gonna show you guys a little later how that looks. I'm gonna do most of it with the clear one, and then I will do the white one. So I'm just putting the rhinestones one by one. I thought that the camera was focused, but it kind of gets unfocused a little bit. So this is how I do it before the glue dries. So I put them all on like as quickly as possible, and they're not straight right now, but with the picker, once they're on, I kind of like move them around. That way I can get the straight line. And I also tap the rhinestones with the picker, that way to make sure that they're really pressed onto the lid. So when you're putting on the rhinestones, you don't want to push with the wax tip, because you're gonna dull it faster. So the wax tip is just to put it on, and then with that metal picker, you just push them on more. And then you just, you know, like realign them and make them straight before they dry. And then once you got that little section nice and straight, you continue on to do the rest. I'm just gonna speed up the video here because this part is very repetitive. So I'm just working in small sections. So I put the strip and then I apply the rhinestones, and then with the tip of that wax picker, I just simply tap on them and then I reorganize them so they're nice and straight. So this is what I'm gonna keep doing, and I'm just gonna, fast forward this a little bit. And then once I get to the white glue that I'm gonna be using, I'm gonna slow it down so we can take a look. These glues work so good with the rhinestones. I have a couple full bling cups, and I've used this one or the other glue, and they have not even came off. I've washed them plenty of times. I've scrubbed them a lot of times, and I've never lost a rhinestone. Also, keep a napkin nearby because sometimes the glue gets a little clogged up just because it dries really fast. So just kind of like wipe the tip, and that way you can still get that perfect flow. Next, I'm going to be applying the rhinestones with the Gem-Tac by Beacons, just so you can see how it's going to look like. I use the same amount of the glue as I did with the clear one. And since this one is white, it does get a little tricky, like when you're making lines such as like this. It's kind of hard to tell like if it's straight or not. So that's like the only downfall when it comes across to this glue. But like I said, it works amazing. I've never lost a rhinestone with this one. Also, if you guys have tried Beacon's Gem-Tac and Eileen's, let me know which one you like better. Like, what are the pros and cons of it? If you guys tried it before, let me know. I'd like to hear your thoughts of it. So as you can see, I put the last rhinestone to connect it all. And using the size SS20 or the 5mm, it fits perfectly around the lid. I don't have to put like an extra tiny one, or it fits flawlessly around. So next, I'm just making sure everything is nice and straight as possible, I should say. And now it's completely done. I'm just going to leave this on my table so it's completely dry. So how long does it take to dry? Probably like a couple hours. Well, you know what the good thing about the white one, you will know when it's dry when it turns clear. So I guess that's a really cool feature of it. I never thought of it that way. So when that turns clear, it's dry. Also, even though the glue is dry, it's not fully cured yet. I think it takes like about 72 hours to completely get cured. So don't wash it until like 2 to 3 days, and because you don't want any rhinestones popping off. So I'm just going to clean up my area, let that dry, and then I'm going to show you guys the finished look. Also, one more step that I forgot. When it's dry, next you need to go ahead and put on that silicone band that we took off at the beginning. And like always, here is the finished look. Since it was a rainy day in California today, I did not get any sun, so I'm not able to show you the sparkle, like the natural sparkle. So you know what, let me just go inside and show you. Here is the sparkle from my ring light. The sparkle on it is so beautiful in person, and I love that it gives the cups like an extra pop to it. They look extra fancy with that beautiful lid. And here are the red ones that I did from the last video. Alright guys, that is it for today's video. Let me know if you guys are gonna try this out. Also, if you guys watched until the end, show me by putting star emojis in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. If you guys haven't already, remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. It really helps my channel grow. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye!